Are you a young, aspiring artist, eager to improve your craft and get to the point where you can draw, paint, and color in a way that lets you express yourself and leaves you feeling fulfilled? If that's you, then make sure you avoid my high school art class, because that place sucks.
Where did you learn what it means to reciprocate? How much can I be expected to tolerate?
Now, is this video just going to be me complaining about the one art class I took 6 years ago in high school? Yes. But are these complaints reasonable, justified, and completely warranted? Well, maybe not actually. I think I was just Well, that depends on who you ask. Because when I took my first beginner art class during my freshman year of high school, our class was basically split into two groups. The lowly beginners taking art for the very first time, and the AP, or Advanced Placement art students. You can probably guess what that dynamic was like. In case you can't though, because I've given you zero details or points to reference so far, let me tell you kinda how this class was structured. So it's day one, right? I'm sitting in my seat, waiting anxiously to meet the man who will teach me new techniques and help me sharpen my skills as a young artist eager to learn. And this man, woo! Let me tell you, this man did not show up to class. My classmates and I spent our first full week of school on our phones, scrolling through Instagram or watching YouTube videos while an underpaid substitute in the corner of the room, well, did the same. I was playing Touch Grind 2 for my skaters out there. After that first week though, our teacher finally showed up, introducing himself and giving us a rundown of how the year was gonna go. We'd spend a day or two in class learning about beginner art techniques and history and whatever other surface level info you teach a new student. Then, every Friday, we'd get a brief quiz. Nothing huge, but just a little checkpoint to kind of see how much we've learned so far. For the rest of class time though, we'd have plenty of time to work on our art projects and ask for advice if we need it. Yuli, that sounds like a pretty basic, typical art class though. I don't really know what you're complaining about. Yeah, well it was a pretty normal setup for a high school art class. And this, second week of school at this point, went by pretty smoothly. We learned about shade, tint, and the color wheel, and I got 100% on what ended up being the last quiz we took that year. I thought you said you get quizzes every Friday. You know, I honestly thought so too, but believe it or not, this dude, after just 1 week of being our teacher, totally gave up. You know how I mentioned that despite being a beginner class, we also had 3rd and 4th year AP art students sitting up in the palace? Yeah, this is where that comes in. The main reason that my teacher chose to neglect us first years was, get this, homeboy was too busy rizzing up the barely legal AP art girls sitting next to his desk. And not just chatting while he's responding to emails and putting grades in, but full 90-degree rotation, leaning back in his chair with the type of grin you'd see on a dude that just won a Fortnite match in 2018. Like, I remember being a freshman and looking up at them like, ugh. They're probably having adult conversations about taxes and driving and owning homes. But looking at it now, these girls were at most 18, and not like 18 turning 19. I'm talking about just earned the right to blow their paychecks on lottery tickets. I'm talking about just becoming allowed to play bingo. Did you know you have to be 18 to legally play bingo? So you know that creepy math teacher that's also the girls' soccer coach archetype that comes up on TikTok every now and again? Yeah, that's basically how my teacher was moving the entire year. Like, forget turning your frown upside down. If there was ever a way to select, free transform, and vertical flip this man's smile, it's by approaching him with a genuine art question while he's trying to hypnotize these kids. Okay, I've got like a full page of me complaining about this underpaid, kinda creepy art teacher, and I'm kind of over it, so let me switch it up here and talk about how I got publicly executed for my art in front of my entire class by a random girl I've never spoken to in my entire life. So sometime in the middle of the year, we were finishing up some individual projects where I think we had to draw like a tree or something, and I think it had to do with patterns too. I don't really remember. But that's not what's important. What matters here is what came after. For whatever reason, my teacher decided to take 5 on his Rizzathon in the corner of the room and do some critiques with us. Basically, we had to swap papers with one of our classmates, and then we'd randomly be chosen to stand and critique the person's project we got. So as per usual, I find myself in this class, totally alone. Again. You guys know I hate introducing myself to people, so I did what any introvert in their right mind would. I slowly walked around the class with my project in my hand until a greater human asked me to switch. This worked perfectly, by the way. Like it was meant to be, this random girl, we'll call her Sam, turned around from her friend group and asked me to swap. And of course, I was like, yes. So now I'm back in my seat, big chilling. I mean, there are like 30 people in this class. What are the odds that... Alright, Sam, do you want to go ahead and start us off? Oh my god. Okay, hi guys. So the project I have here, the person got their patterns right, but it kind of looks like they spilled a can of black paint onto the paper. Do I give this back to... okay. I mean, what could I have possibly done to this girl to deserve being locked up in a pillory and having rocks comically painted like tomatoes thrown at my face? Like, it's already hard enough for me to just be around so many people, and I try to keep a low profile, but I have a borderline unfathomable amount of stories where I somehow always end up the laughingstock of my entire class throughout my years at high school. You know what? That critique was honestly in horrible taste. The point is to give advice and constructive criticism, not make jokes about it. And rude as it was, I gotta say, she definitely wasn't wrong though. All jokes aside, it's actually not cool to do stuff like this. Especially in a creative setting like this, I think it's important to make an effort to build each other up instead of tearing one another down to get a quick laugh from our friends. Because I know that for me personally, worrying about what the people around me think of my way of expressing myself is probably the number one reason my creativity's been stunted in the past. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people can relate to that, so don't be mean. Unless it looks like they spilled a can of black paint on their paper, because what even is that?